All right. So we're back. We're back for another Cloud Square Dream Cloud update. And I've been thinking a lot about community owned businesses because because basically I feel like the problem we're seeing is the concentration of wealth, right? So if we want to solve that problem, then we're going to need to. Let me see if I can plug this in. Oh my god, it's too loud. We're gonna need to. God, that's just the fucking. It's just the charger. Let's see if I can plug this guy in. There we go. Okay. So yeah. So we submitted the app to the App Store, and evidently they couldn't find the subscribe button. So we had to resubmit it. But the app is in review, and this is going to be, I feel like, a big shift for America because this is the first community owned social networking platform. And I think eventually what we need to do is start building community owned businesses. And in order to start doing that, we need to basically form some kind of like master business, some kind of like distribution channel. And that's what Cloud Square can be. So, normally, obviously, like business structures are owners, employees, and I think we need to start shifting that if we want to get different outcomes, right? So I think that we have to kind of reimagine what businesses are on a local level. And we need to start promoting the idea of community owned businesses or employee owned businesses. And I think that's going to be the ticket out of this mess, honestly, because really the problem that we're facing right now is just consolidated wealth. And that wealth that is consolidated is done through privately owned, centrally controlled businesses, right? Typical capitalism. And people, are rightfully upset that the system looks like it's owned and controlled by a very small number of people. And so what's the solution? An economy that's owned and controlled by a great many people. So that's why I'm putting this idea forward about community owned businesses. And I'd like to start the first biggest one, which would be a community owned social networking platform, an app. And it's called Cloud Square. And it's going to the App Store. It's just being reviewed right now. Like I said, the first review failed because they could not find the link to the in-app purchases to subscribe because there's a locked screen on some activity. But basically, the app is it functions in two ways. One is that, yes, it's a platform for you to connect with businesses in your area, with locals in your area, plan events, meet up in the real world, network, date, conduct business. There's all these things you can do, right, on the app, like a local social networking app. But this subscription fee allows us to generate revenue that is not, returnable to the user, but it could be reinvested by the company into local projects. That's kind of like, I think the trick is to get away from like an investment vehicle that promises returns for your money, and it's more of just a service that you interact with that expects a fee, a membership fee, or we could say it's like part ownership in the company, and then that money gets reinvested into the community. So what are we going to do, right? I'm thinking that this is going to be a like community lounge. So the first real world project will just be a community space, and that will be the first headquarters of a Dream Cloud, and integrating like a simple cafe, coffee shop, workspace. I think that would be ideal, just to have a place where people can come and work and interact and network and get help if they need help on things. And then to be able to, eat a little bit of food and obviously have some coffee, just to create kind of like, that social kind of like workspace environment. But emphasis on, this being kind of like a social space for the community to come organize. So that's the idea, is to use this revenue to generate funds that can go into real world projects, and then start creating these different kinds of typologies. So the first one obviously could be more of like a headquarters and a cafe, but just a general meeting place for people who want to work on community projects. And then from there, right, bring people in, and we need to start kind of implementing plans to create cooperatives and to get people who want to, work for a community-owned company, to brainstorm on what kinds of projects we could be implementing now, what could be the next business that we open. So I think that's kind of the scalable approach here, is to start with the social networking platform and to onboard as many people as possible to generate revenue, and then to put that revenue back into a meeting space where we can attract more people and give them kind of something in the real world, something more tangible than just a platform. And I'm basically thinking about this as like a gym membership for your social life, for your networking. So, yeah, this is a space where we can bring people together to talk about the next thing we need to build, right? Or it could be a space, if people want to educate anyone on, emerging technology. But essentially, yeah, I think that we need some kind of a communal space outside of traditional commerce where people can come and meet and talk to their neighbors. I don't know why this sounds so radical, but like, it just seems like everything's been stripped away from building communities. So we have to get that back. So Cloud Square is the kind of, glue that'll hold all this together. So people can meet on the platform. They can network with other people. Like I said, we can use this for a whole bunch of different use cases. And it'll be a little easier to talk about once the app is actually live and you can download it. But I need to keep onboarding businesses. So I reached out to a local business that does events, and They did like a gaming night at the bar. It's like a bar lounge, and they did this really cool gaming night, and a lot of people showed up, and it was a cool kind of just community living room space. And that's great, but um, just kind of like it being a bar just set the tone of like, that's a commercial space, that's their space. It's not really owned. Obviously, it's not really owned by the community. So I think we could do something similar, but we definitely need to build a community space where um, people can feel free to come by and kind of interact with other people in a non-commercial way. So that's basically the plan. It looks like my X account for DreamCloud was suspended, so I don't know what's going on with that. I'm gonna try to not think there's something going on behind the scenes there. But uh, we got to be careful, I guess, about what we talk about. But we need to think about how just to create more community-owned businesses. That's basically the plan. And I know a business that is a co-op, and it is in a local shopping center. So I plan on interviewing that owner operator and just talking to her about how she did how they did the whole store. Basically, they bought their store and turned it into a co-op. The restaurant, they wanted to close it. The owner wanted to close it, and the employees just said, "Well, what if we bought it?" So I think that could be the start of like a bigger trend towards worker-owned businesses. But I think that we need to kind of tie all these things back into, a community-owned networking platform to make that kind of a broader impact. Yeah, I just think that like this is this is the way that we can actually like make meaningful change on a local level now, and then kind of like gain momentum and gain more popularity, and then influence more people that way, and then kind of expand into a broader um, group of people across different disciplines that want to work together to make this happen. So that's basically the plan. Is we need to promote communities more, and there's a big push for obviously like hyper individualism that's still very popular. And I think that like if you notice the trends, like all of these things, um, they're not by accident, but there's a reason that people keep pushing hyper individualism as the answer to this. Sort of like um, the like I said, you're not going to be able to um, kind of independent your way out of this problem. So yeah, community-owned social networking app that is a sovereign wealth fund that can be used to deploy resources on a local level. Um, you got the that as like a broad network that's kind of more controlled by the individual zip codes. So the other thing is, if you're a part of the network and there's several people in that area that you're organizing, you can become a leader, and then we can distribute obviously revenue from the platform into that area that you control and you manage. So it could be a really good exercise in how do we all kind of like aggregate collective capital, and then how do we deploy it back into specific areas while trying to recruit more people and join the organization. So, if we can get millions of people on this platform using it and being a subscriber, then we'd have, tens to hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue coming in each month. and a small amount of that would go to infrastructure, obviously, but most of that could be just reinvested into the community. And like I said, the first business typology needs to be kind of these kind of community centers, cafes where people can work, and we can kind of talk about what we're building next, or people can use it as an event space. I just think something building something for the community to own and to kind of come to together would be a good first kind of business typology. And then when those people are coming into the store and they're meeting with other people and we have regular meetings, then those people can sort of like branch off and explore their own niche businesses. So yeah, I just don't think that there's like a political solution to this. I think that we can fairly, conclude at this point that the system's not working, our economy is not working, and just the whole country in a nutshell, right? In summation, is not working anymore. So, what are the solutions? Like, what are we going to do about it? I'm not a big complainer. I don't think that we need to understand like every reason why it's not working. I don't think we need to go into the nuances of like what people are thinking about while they're creating dysfunction in our society. But I do think that we need to start kind of addressing solutions and just start talking about things that would work, things that we could do to improve the world. And that's why I started this company, this organization. That's what this is. And then that's what Cloud Square is. So, like I said, it's a new way for us to come together in a digital space to organize, to connect, to meet other people on a local level, to plan events, to meet up in the real world, to discuss potential solutions, to network, to promote our own small businesses, to connect with customers. Like there's so many things built into it. And at the end of the day, all of that is to bring people into the realization that if we can create something that we can all own and share through a subscription fee, you become an owner of the company, co-owner, then we can decide what we're going to do with this revenue together. Because, it's not practical for really one person, even if I am like the technical owner of the company and the builder of the software, it wouldn't be appropriate for me to decide like, well, what happens with all this revenue. So basically that's the plan, is to create something that the public can freely buy into and become a part of an organization that wants to improve the situation on the ground in the real world through real world development projects. I think talking about, just community spaces where people can come and meet each other, like all day, all hours, maybe 24 hours, but like closed, maybe not 24 hours, but maybe 20, have it be closed, maybe be open to 18 hours a day. Kind of have like a wide spectrum of different people coming in and out. People can host events, people can teach courses, people can share what they're working on, or they can just use it as like a community meeting space if they have clients or they have something they're working on. And then try to use that as a kind of like a first test case to build the next business. And that could be, like a food store, a local grocery store. Or we could, build a restaurant, or we could build a car wash, or we could build something else. So I think that's kind of where we have to get to initially, is just talking, communicating with each other, and building communities, right? Building real world communities, not online only, kind of, communities kind of obsessed about this niche. I get like the traditional online communities are more about, like a certain subject, like a certain comic book, or like a certain crypto, or like a fan club, or, a money thing. And I get that, but like, that's not really what a community is. because that's everyone thinking about the one thing, and that's not really what a community is. Like a group of people that have a diverse set of ideas, and when those people come together, then they can actually do powerful things. So what we really need to do is create a community that's like locally based, or it's at least it functions in a way that is responsive to your proximity and the other users around you, but it ties you into this larger network where you can interact with other people. And I just feel like um, that to me would be, you know, that would be the best way to move this forward. So yeah, like I said, I submitted another build to the App Store, and we should be live hopefully by the end of the week. And then it's just going to be an exercise in onboarding people and bringing people into the community. And I guess my strategy is just to create free accounts for businesses in my area. And then if I can create free accounts for people who already are hosting these events, then when people go on the platform, they can see that there are these events happening, and then they can use it for, keeping track of events. And then as more people join the platform, then, users can interact directly with each other. So it goes from having like businesses that are event heavy as the first user, just signing them up or creating them. I can just create them accounts and then show them and have them take it over and then join by paying a subscription ownership fee. And then that will attract more people, as those businesses will naturally, ask people if they're on CloudSquare or if they're following their CloudSquare account. And then once the people are on it, then the people will bring obviously more people, more friends, and do things individually. And, once we get to a couple thousand users locally, then we're able to implement the first in the real world community center, a DreamCloud headquarters. And then I think it'll work from there. I think that's kind of the best possible outcome right now. But yeah, this is not something that any one person can define and say this is the ultimate solution, because that's not possible. So I've come to the realization that people who are trying to do that are just making it up and lying, because it's not really possible to say what the ultimate solution is, and without even trying to start talking about community, it really doesn't make any sense, because like I said, you're never going to be able to individual your way out of this. It's never going to be you doing your individual thing. That's not going to change anything. So the only way we get out of this situation we're in right now, where it feels like nobody has control and special interest groups basically run the show, is to come together and form communities. And essentially that's what CloudSquare is. It's a way for us to start to create communities. And what better way to create a community than to build a local networking app that people can sign on to, and they can interact with local businesses, and they can find events that are happening in their area, and then they can find other people who are interested in the same things, and then they can start to connect. And it's a brand new shift. It's something that's that needs to be explained because nothing like it exists, right? And that's kind of the problem with being innovative and being on the avant-garde of technology, is that you're thinking about things that don't exist yet that could solve problems that we have now. So everyone's kind of, familiar with the problems we have now, but I don't see anyone at all who's astutely aware of all of the problems we have having any solutions or being able to come up with any solutions. So that to me is going to be important. That's the next step. Yeah. Um, yeah. I don't know. I don't know when my account got suspended. Um, I'm not happy about that. I was sending people DMs, but you know, that's why you pay for premium X account. So I don't know why I got this, suspension, but that's not good. Anyway, um yeah, I think that's pretty much it for today. Um I'm going to try to set up an interview with this co-op restaurant and talk to them about what they did and what their strategy is and how we can promote more co-ops and how we can kind of use their success story to implement more of these and how a system like Cloud Square as a community owned social network would help them to kind of get more customers and create more of a network. So that's going to be in the next episode. And for now, yeah, for now, that's basically it. Um, I don't know what's going on with the X account, but I submitted an appeal, so that should be back online hopefully in a week. And then I'll just be more careful with sending cold DMs because I think that's what got me is just sending cold DMs to people, and I guess they wanted to report me. So no more of that, and yeah, I'll see you in the next episode.